And we're recording. We're on. Yep. Hi, everybody. Wave real quick if you can hear me. Yeah, great. Okay, I'm Sharon Bond with the Parent and Family Engagement Office. Also with Parent and Family Engagement is Tyler Marone. And our guest for the day from the Academic Advising Office is Jeanette Lutke.
Hi.
And we're going to go over the academics and registration. We want to follow up real quick with a question from last week, which was our student financial services webinar. There was a question that we couldn't answer the last time, so I'll just go over it really quickly. Question was, how much are tuition late fees? And the answer is, late fees are assessed on the first business day of each month to any account with greater than $150 that is over 30 days past due. The late fee amount is $75 or 1.5% of the past due balance, whichever is greater. For first-time, first-year students, November 1st will be the earliest they could get a late fee. So that takes care of our one leftover question from last week, and we're going to move on to this week for academics and registration. So for those of you who don't know what Parent and Family Engagement does here at the university, we connect you to each other. We answer your questions prior to orientation and throughout all 4 years, all the way up through graduation. So we're here as your university liaison. When you have questions and it's not intuitive where you should go at the university to get your answer, you can check in with us at the email address parents@du.edu, and we're here to help you out. Part of what we do is pre-orientation type of information, just like this webinar. And we'll have some different subjects every week leading up to orientation. So every Wednesday evening, 6 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, we're going to be doing these webinars all the way up to orientation. So let's go ahead and get started with today's topic, academics and registration. Go ahead,
Thank
Jeanette.
you. Hi, my name is Jeanette, and I'm the Director of Academic Advising. So I'm going to talk a little bit about academic advising and then how academic advising will work once your student arrives for Welcome Week and registration. So academic advising at the University of Denver here is a partnership. So most of your students should be currently going through the Canvas module, which is academic planning and registration. It should have opened up on yesterday. But in it's going over a lot of the things that I'm talking about right now. So academic advising is a partnership between both faculty and staff. So students have multiple ways to get advice. And so I brought a diagram. I don't know how well y'all can see this, but maybe I'll hold it up to the, so that's the diagram, and that's the student with multiple advisors. And so that includes their FSIM advisor who works with them throughout their first year, and the FSIM faculty member is not only their advisor, their mentor, and they meet with their students starting during orientation, and then they have their FSIM class in the fall, and in the winter and in the spring, there are mandatory meetings with their FSIM faculty member to check in, to make sure that students are getting properly connected and getting advised. And then staff academic advising, which is the department that I oversee, we have 7 academic advisors, and we work with FSIM faculty to make sure that students are connected. So if an FSIM faculty member needs additional assistance, then their first point of contact around academic advising, they'll either meet with an academic, they'll contact an academic advisor in the office that I work in, or they'll go to the major advisor. And then students also have a career advisor, and they can start meeting with them starting in their first quarter. So I'm trying to think what else. Okay, so for orientation, students will be meeting with their FSIM faculty advisor, and so they're different days, but on Wednesday, we will have a major advising day. And so they'll meet with their FSIM faculty advisor. They'll talk about the common curriculum, which are the requirements for all students. And then the students will transition into major advising. So all of the 5 colleges, the Ritchie School of Engineering and Computer Science, the Daniels College of Business, Arts, Humanities, Social Sciences, Natural Science and Mathematics, and the Corbell International School of International Studies, and then the public policy majors will all meet with their majors to talk about the requirements for that major and what students should be taking in their first quarter. And we'll also have an undeclared session, which is a partnership between my office and the Career Services. So then students will understand what they need to register for, which will happen the next day on that Thursday. And we do a large registration. It's all day, starting in the morning through early afternoon, where students come into the Academic Commons, which is our library. And then we have it set up where faculty are, all the first year seminar faculty are seated, waiting on students, and they help them register for their classes. So in order to register for their classes, they have to have schedules. And so a part of that module that students are doing currently, at the very end, there's an opportunity for students to start working on their schedules so they can go into the registration system and create 3 schedules. Is the idea, just getting them familiar with the system, understanding, you know, how to build those schedules. In the module, it also gives course recommendations for each of the different areas. So if a student is undeclared, what does a typical schedule look like as far as course selection? If they're, you know, an engineering major or arts, humanities, and social sciences. So that's in the module, those sample schedules, and then students can go in just the same way that they registered for their first year seminar class. They can go in and start to create kind of mock schedules of what they would like to take. So that's kind of what's going on with the advising and registration for the first quarter. Yeah, so it's a lot of information.
So our first quick question, they were wondering if they could get access to the slides that you were talking about.
Oh, the Canvas module?
You could send it to me and then
Oh,
I
okay.
can send it to them in the document.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they not have access to any of the Canvas modules?
I don't think so.
No,
Oh, okay.
only the student has access.
Oh, okay.
So if we get a copy of that, we can send it out to them.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, we can make sure that you get a copy of the slides that we are talking about today. Our next question, should my student be looking at classes prior to registration? When does registration start?
Well, I can answer that, but yes, they should be looking at classes, kind of going through the registration system, and there are detailed instructions in that Canvas module that they have access to. So at the very end of it, it shows students step by step how to register, how to create schedules of potential classes they'd like to register for. And then when they come during Discovery's orientation welcome week, then they'll have additional assistance between the FSIM faculty advisor as well as their orientation leaders, helping them to actually go over their schedule again and make sure it's what they want. And then when they go to registration on welcome week, it's the Thursday of welcome week, then they'll register for classes. So the main advising and then registration happens during welcome week. I hope that's clear. Okay.
Okay, so you mentioned campus module planning. Is this something my students should know about? Is the question. The Canvas modules. So yes, your student should have had an email sent to them about the modules on Canvas. If they haven't heard about that, who are they supposed to be contacting?
Prior to today, I would have said the Discovery's office. I'm going to find out the answer to that question. I don't want to send a lot of people to the same area if that's not the right place, so I'm going to find the answer for you.
Your students should already have access to Canvas. All that it requires is their student ID, and then they should have been emailed a password as well, which they can reset. So have your student try and look for an email about Canvas. It should have been sent a few weeks ago.
In the newsletter at all?
in our newsletter or the
Yeah.
student newsletter? I don't think it was in our newsletter.
Yeah, there's a student newsletter, and I'm hoping that your students all get that copy of the student newsletter. If they're not receiving emails like the newsletter or information about Discover DU, if they're not getting anything, they should probably get in touch with our admission office, admission@du.edu, and just make sure that they have all of their correct information, including a good email address. And that your students have them check their spam folder or the junk folder to make sure that they aren't sweeping in there. That's a possibility too.
Okay. Our next question, how do the students get their advisors? Are they assigned prior to orientation Wednesday? What if they are undeclared?
Oh, yes. So the FSIM faculty mentor advisor is based off of the FSIM class that students are registered for. So that is their advisor. So if they're registered for, I forgot the names of the FSIMs, but there's an instructor and that is their advisor. So it's the same person. Staff academic advisors out of our office are assigned to FSIM groups as well. But currently students, if they happen to have a question, then they can just contact our office directly. It's advising, well, our email is advising@du.edu. But yeah, if they just have a general question. But yeah, so their FSIM faculty instructor is also their advisor.
Okay, this person had a few different questions. So, how many classes do you recommend a first-year student take for the fall quarter, especially student athlete?
I think it varies. So most students to graduate in 4 years, they will take 3 to 4 classes a quarter. However, if a student just took 3 classes every quarter, then they probably wouldn't graduate on time. So I think it depends on the situation. If a student has, they come in with 60 credit hours, of AP and transfer credits, then they have a lot more leeway, whereas other students may not. And it also depends on the major. So if a student is an engineering major versus a history major, that also can determine how many classes they should take. But on average, it's 3 to 4 classes. And most students, if they came in with absolutely nothing, and they're not engineering, they could get away with 3 classes, knowing that they would need to take 4 classes moving forward if they were going to be on that 4-year plan to get to a minimum for most majors of 183. So a lot of advising is individual. So that's why I'm like, well, I don't want to say something that won't apply to your situation. So if a student has concerns about, because some students will be an engineering major and while they know that they can handle the coursework, still feel like the load is going to be too much for their first quarter because they're moving away from home and different things that may be happening in their life. And so that's a conversation that they can definitely have with their FSIM faculty member as well as their major faculty member during orientation. The only thing that I've seen happen is students are afraid to speak up and say, I feel like this is too much. So as much as we can empower students to say, this just doesn't feel right. Do I have any other options? I would encourage you to encourage your students. I try to tell students that, but yeah. So there's lots of support. Students just have to be willing to ask for it. So yeah, 3 or 4 courses is a typical course load for the first quarter.
Okay. How can we make 3 mock schedules without seeing class times?
Oh, in the registration system, there are class times. So yeah, I don't know how to. I mean, I can't show. I don't know how to show you how to do it. Yeah. But in the module, it shows the step-by-step guide, and for the most part, students, they figured out how to, well, I guess they did. Yeah, they registered for their FSIM. So when you go into registration, you look for a class schedule and it shows the times and days, the name of the class, the course registration number, and so forth. So it should be in there.
Yeah, so when your student pulls it up, anytime they type in like a class number, it should show all time periods that's offered and when it's offered. And your student should be able to build mock schedules within the registration system and see where all the classes are lining up. So the time should already be in there. And it actually builds a very nice looking schedule down at the bottom of the screen as your student adds and moves things around. So you just gotta look.
Yeah, and most of the students, when we changed over to this registration system, I think 2 years ago, I had no idea what I was looking at. I went in with one of our current students and they needed help with whatever they were doing. And I went in and I'm not very tech savvy and I was able to figure it out. I was like, oh, well, we just kind of moved this. And then most of the students the current students, when we moved to the new system, they caught on like really fast. So I think it's kind of pretty user friendly. And so they should be able to kind of figure out their course schedules. But if they're not, they can contact Advising at DU. The registrar's office could also help. But yeah, we can maybe set up a meeting where students, if they're really having that much difficulty, we can set up a Zoom like this where we can look at their screen and we can share screens and kind of walk them through it.
Third question, what are the honors program requirements a student needs to be aware of / required to sign up for each quarter, especially fall?
The honors courses, that should be, if I'm right, I thought that was on the conflicting course schedule for FSIM registration. I don't know them offhand. I'm like, I wish I had access. So you're asking like very specific questions where I'm like, oh, I wish I could just go online and Google, not Google, but DU search for honors courses and kind of guide you through. But yeah, I don't know what the requirements are for honors. I know during orientation there is a honors, what do you call it?
The honors orientation.
Or honors orientation, and then
12 to 1 on Monday.
Yeah, 12 to 1 on Monday. So there's an honors program orientation. And then there's also the honors team, they're part of the registration room. So when students walk into or come into our registration room, we call it registration room in the library, honors staff or a team of honors folks are available just for honors students. So they register with the honors staff to make sure that they're taking the right classes. But those classes, I almost, for some reason, I feel like they were part of a conflict list for FSIM to make sure the students didn't take a class that might possibly, yeah, so anyway, but maybe they're not. Anyway, I just know that there's a ton of support during orientation for that.
The psychology classes just said psychology versus the name and coverage of the course. Are we missing something? So are there supposed to be specific like names attached to the courses? They're just seeing psychology across the board.
Yes, there should be. I don't know where they're looking. So if that's in,
if you're in the registration system, anytime you type in a course name, there should be a number attached to it as well. And when you click into a specific course, you should be able to go to more info, and that will tell you the name. Typically, when you see it on the registration, it's going to be like psych with a 4.
No, yeah, 1001, 1001,
with
or
like 4 numbers, something like that. And then if you click into more info, it'll actually tell you the title and usually what's covered in it. You just kind of have to dig deeper. It's not going to be listed specifically the class title when you're initially looking at the registration system. So it just requires a little more playing around with the classes and the system. And
Yeah, because if you're logged into the registration system, it gives you like different options, course schedule. So if you're looking at the course schedule, yeah,
you just have to specifically click into the class, and then it gives you like a multiple tabs, like what books are required, what more info about the course, who the instructor is. It lists all those things. You just have to click into each individual tab and look at the separate courses, because they're also going to all have different numbers attached to them.
do we need to do a demo? But yeah.
So it takes some playing around with our system.
And it depends on where you're looking. So if you're not logged into Pioneer Web, then it's going to look different than when a student goes into actual Pioneer Web and click registration in their Pioneer Web. Then a whole nother box opens up and it has like the course schedule, planning for registration, and so forth. A lot of different options.
Okay. If a student has a declared major, should they get an advisor for that major too?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. So yes, they will. Every student. So once a student has a declared major, then they will have a specific faculty advisor assigned to them, and their first point of contact is their FSIM faculty advisor, and then the major advisor through their first year, and then the major advisor is secondary. So if it's like psychology, psychology will meet with all their first year students during orientation to talk about like what classes they'll take and so forth. And if they need additional assistance, then they can meet with them. But for the most part, they're going to their FSIM faculty advisor. If a student is engineering, they have an engineering, faculty member. If they're business, they have a staff academic advisor in business to help them. But for the most part, the first year is pretty much set out for all the majors. And there are group sessions too for first year, first time students where business has group sessions, engineering has group session, music, they have sessions for their major, while all the other majors are pretty, it's almost like a student can't take anything wrong in their first year. So some majors are more structured, and students may want to reach out to their faculty member or their faculty advisor. But yes, to answer your question, yes, every student has a faculty major advisor. But in their first year, their FSIM faculty is their advisor.
Does my student have to declare their minor before Discovery Week?
Absolutely not.
Where can we find the information about what AP scores are accepted by DU for credit?
That should be on the admissions or the registrar's website. I don't know where.
You can contact the registrar's office. Their email address is registrar@du.edu. Also, we put a link in. Yeah.
Thanks for adding that link.
Yes, thank you.
And for students that have AP credits, they can see everybody has a degree audit in their Pioneer Web, and it's degree audit, but they can pull up their degree audit, and if you're able to pull up the degree audit, you're able to see the actual credits show up in the different areas of common curriculum. And they can also pull up their DU transcript as well, and they'll have it on there. But some students want to know, is this counting for the requirement that I thought that it would? And so on a degree audit, they can see that. And if they're still having problems, we can show them at orientation.
If a student is undeclared, are there general requirement courses that are needed regardless of the college/major? Is there a general language and math requirement for all?
Yes. So that is our common curriculum where every student has to take writing classes, the first year seminar, writing classes, arts and humanities types classes, social science classes, language, with the exception of engineering and Bachelor of Music majors. So yeah, and then they have to, so that's our common curriculum. And that's what that Canvas module is taking students through, is just the common curriculum that all students have to take.
Okay. Someone is looking, their daughter's having trouble with finding classes and wants a suggestion of where to point their daughter to. It's not really.
Oh, let's see.
I'll have her try again, but is there someone we could point our daughter to, as that was missing from the most classes when she was asked to look over her form? So not, do we have someone that we can easily point students to as they're going through looking through our registration system?
Oh, I guess that'd just be advising. I don't know. I mean, you could go to the registrar's office. I just think an advisor could help. I don't know what the problem is. But again, it sounds like it's very individualized. I don't know. So maybe just an advisor would be helpful.
Yeah. So if your student continues to have questions, we highly recommend asking the registrar's office or asking academic advising. We are here on campus to help students as they're trying to navigate these systems. So feel free to call the offices or email with questions. Are they saying our kids should have their schedules ready when they get to school on September 4th?
No. So there are, a student can start playing around with the registration system and how to build like a mock schedule. So they can have like 3, so I don't know, I'll keep going back to the Canvas module because it kind of explains what's happening, where it goes over common curriculum and then it breaks out into different majors. So or the Ritchie School of Engineering and Computer Science, the Daniels College of Business, Arts, Humanities, Undeclared. And when students click on each of those, it gives a first year course recommendations of potential courses they would take. And the purpose of this is so that students just have an idea of the language and have an idea of what they could potentially be taking with those majors. Because we'd be surprised that students are like, oh yeah, I'm going to be an engineering major. And then they look at the courses they're going to take and they're like, I'm not going to be an engineering major. So I'm going to look at, Daniels College of Business. Oh, that looks more like what I want to take for my first quarter. So they get to look at the classes, and then from there, they can go into the registration system and kind of build a schedule around the class they're already registered for, which is their first year seminar. So all students should already have their first year seminar. And so they're adding an additional 3 or so classes to their schedule, but they're not actually registered. It's just an opportunity for them to play around with the schedules of what they would like to take. And so those schedules can be adjusted when they get to campus based off of the Wednesday major advising session, several sessions with their first year seminar instructor, time with their orientation leader who's a current student, and then we have a registration, we call it the registration room in the library, where all the students get to register with first year seminar instructors sitting right with them, making sure that they're running into any difficulty. But yeah, they get to create their plans before they get here. When they get here, they have an opportunity to make changes to their plans, and then they go into the registration room with their first schedule. And then if that doesn't work, they go with their second schedule. If that doesn't work, they go with their third schedule. And then if that doesn't work, then they have the Epson faculty seminar advisors sitting right with them to help them. And then the registration room is set up where we have people from departments from all over campus. They come in to help with any potential issues. And so it goes pretty fast. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a point when a student connects with a specific advisor with whom they meet throughout their time at DU? Do they have to initiate this, or does advising reach out to them?
Oh, yeah. So for what kind of student? I'm sorry.
Just they're asking in
student.
general, like, does the student have to initiate contact with advisors?
Oh,
or
yeah. So
maybe-
all students, all first year, first time students, have a first year seminar instructor that they meet during orientation, and then that faculty member helps them with figuring out their schedule, making sure they get registered, and then they're instructed for their first year seminar class for that 10 weeks during the fall quarter. And so then in the winter and the spring, they're required to meet with that SM faculty instructor for advising before they get to register in winter and spring. So advising is always mandatory for the first time student. It's mandatory in the fall, the winter, and the spring with their SM faculty instructor. And so if a student is has a specialized major or has specialized questions, then they are always free to go to their major faculty advisor to get those answered. But in order to register for the next quarter, they always have to come back to their their FSM faculty advisor to release them to register for classes. So they have to show them, hey, I went and talked to engineering about my special situation, and then this is what we came up with. The FSM faculty will look at it and say, oh, looks good. Now you can register. And that'll happen for the fall, the winter, and the spring. So that is kind of the way that we advise the first time students. Yeah.
Okay, this next question, is there a difference between Discovery Week and Orientation Week? No, they're the same thing. It's Discovery Orientation Week. That's the first week your student's on campus. So those terms tend to be used interchangeably. They mean the exact same thing. And then we have a parent. What is the SM you keep referring to?
It's FSIM.
Oh, FSIM.
FSM.
Yeah, that's first year seminar. That's what we're talking about when we say the FSIM advisor or the FSIM course is first year seminar.
Sorry, first year seminar. You're learning our language, sorry.
Okay. Are our kids supposed to basically have their course of choice before we came to campus? We already answered that one. What options are there for engineering majors to take a lighter load than 17 credits indicated as required for first quarter?
So for a lighter load, that would actually be something that a student would talk to their major faculty advisor about. So if a student is concerned right now, they can email advising@du.edu, and we'll connect them to an engineering faculty advisor to get that question answered. Yeah.
When the students need to get in touch with,
They need to know right now.
yeah.
But it will be, so again, you can go with the way that it is, knowing that there'll be a major advising and opportunities for students to meet specifically with faculty in that area to address like their specific questions about classes, and what they can and cannot do or don't want to do, and then what their options are.
This one's really specific. When do the students need to get in touch with Allied Department for Med tracking opportunity?
Oh, pre-allied health. So we have, oh my gosh, we didn't put that in the Canvas module, I don't think. Pre-allied health. So we have a pre-allied health center. I'm like, I wish I could, I don't know if you have, there's a link or a website on DU's, maybe I can get it for you. But in it has an example of the classes that a first time student would need to take for pre-allied health or pre-med, regardless of if they're biology or psychology or business or whatever major they are. They have the, classes that students are recommended to take in their first quarter. Like they have to take chemistry. I don't think we put it on the Canvas module, but there is a whole center, and in that they have a video that talks to first year, first time students about pre-med, pre-allied health. As soon as you go on that page, you click on this video, and then the director of the center speaks to exactly what first year, first time students should be taking.
Yeah, and we can follow up with that in an email after this.
Yeah, I can get y'all link. I'm like, oh, I got really excited because I'm like, oh, I know this one.
Do classes fill up before orientation week if my student doesn't get into this? If my student doesn't get to this until the weekend, will classes fill up?
No, well, except transfer students. For first year, first time students, they're not registering until actual orientation week.
Yeah, what they're doing right now is a mock registration.
Yeah, just kind of picking out classes and getting familiar with the system and how to build their schedule.
We are attending JET program for LEP. When is registration for those students? Can they take only 3 classes first quarter? When is their advisor assigned?
So the advisor, well, I don't know if they're talking about their advisor or their academic counselor. So for the advisor, I'm thinking you mean like for academic advising, course selection, that kind of stuff. That's their FSIM faculty instructor. For the JET program, those students will register on the same time as all other students. If students have early registration as a accommodation, disability services program accommodation, then they register on Wednesday as well. They just have an earlier registration time. So students are going through the registration room in waves. And then on the 3 classes, yes, students can take only 3 classes their first quarter, 3 to 4 classes. Again, it depends on their major. So if you're an engineering major, where somebody mentioned that, where they have like 17 hours they're supposed to take, there may be options, but that'll be a discussion that they'll have with their engineering faculty advisor to make sure that they understand if they do this, then what that'll mean for the rest of their time at DU, because that's a very structured major. Whereas if someone is the majority of arts and humanities and social sciences, not a big deal for them to take 3 classes. Possibly even a business major, maybe not a big deal for them to take 3 classes in their first quarter. But yeah, if they're engineering or potentially like a music major, then they have requirements, and so yeah, it'll have to be they'll have to have specific discussions. But for the majority of students, taking 3 classes is not a big deal in the first quarter, but knowing that they can't continue to do that and graduate in 4 years without summers or other additional quarters to make up for that.
When do students who have been approved for early registration register? How can those students get advising before that early registration?
Oh, so early registration happens on Thursday of Welcome Week. So all the students are going through the reg room where students that have early registration just go earlier. They get advised the same way as all other students with their FSIM faculty member, and then again in major advising. And so they get the same support and help as all other students. They just register at an earlier time on registration day.
Okay. If a student doesn't submit the 1 prompt assignment, does that affect their ability to register?
Should I say yes? No, it doesn't.
Okay. Can an admitted student declare a major in any college, or would their admissions be limited to certain major or college?
Any college with the exception of probably, music. And then business may have secondary admissions, so they have direct admits, and then some students have to do secondary admissions. But if a student is a direct admit, then they know that they are, and any other student would have to go through the process of what we call secondary admissions for business students. But all other majors, yeah, there's no, any student can declare majors and everything else.
Have the students been told they can create schedules now? Mine has not mentioned this.
Oh, the module just opened on Monday, so if they're kind of following the modules, then it would be in it. I'm like, I want to show them the module. I'm like, oh, I want to grab the computer and show you how to do this stuff. But yes, yeah, it would have to be in the module. Yeah, that's how they know. It tells them.
In the Discover DU?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So there are 4 of them, right? That 2 have already happened, and
Yeah. So your students should have access to a Canvas module course that teaches them how to use the registration system and how to make schedules and things like that. So check in with your student, make sure that they're reviewing that before, just so that it's easier for them as they're going through this process. For students in the Pioneer Leadership Program, are there certain class requirements?
yes, there are. And then I think they have an orientation as well.
Yes. On
Yeah.
Monday.
And I always feel like,
Pioneer Leadership and LLC orientations are from 1 to 3 on Monday.
yes. So they have an orientation to talk about the class. So yes, they do have, I want to say, is it 2 hours? Yeah, a 2-hour course for credit that they registered for in the first quarter. And I'm almost certain that when students registered for FSEM, there were conflict courses that they were supposed to look at. So if a student is engineering, any of the sciences, I want to say honors, but I know for sure the Living Learning Communities, they had the course that they're going to have to register for to, make sure that they wouldn't have any conflicts with other classes. So there's a website for that too. Yeah, so we can follow up on that.
Is it possible to get financial aid for more than 4 years, so 12 quarters, if he or she needs to take a reduced course load due to disability?
I'm not sure.
That, so any financial aid questions, we recommend talking to the Office of Financial Aid. They will be better able to answer those questions for you.
It's FINAID. So we're putting the website up there in the chat menu for the financial aid office. You can start by getting in touch with them that way.
Okay. My student needs to integrate community college summer classes into his schedule. How will his advisor help him so he picks summer community classes, which will transfer and pick classes wisely?
Oh, that's a good question. So I would say for a student who is, integrating community college courses over the summers, to meet with an advisor in centralized advising in our office. Yeah, I think that would probably be the best option to do, like a graduation plan. So our team of advisors, we're generalists, and so if a student, if they're business, then there's a whole team of business advisors that are available to help them do that. But if they're any other major, then the team that I work with in centralized advising can help them create a graduation plan and kind of look at how the summer classes will go. And there's also, and show them for the community college classes, especially if it's here in Colorado, we already have on the registrars, through the registrars webpage, a system that'll show you what classes are already like transferable, that, you know, like if you take this class, it's going to come back as this class to DU. So the advising team in our office can help students with that.
Okay, so this next question. Are the modules in Canvas, did the email to students explicitly say what to do? If the student has not yet started modules, do they have time to do so? What other modules have they had? So yes, modules are in Canvas. They should have had an email that explicitly states how to access Canvas, what to do, the schedule of modules as they come out. If they haven't started modules, yes, they can still do them. They should stay open for your student to go through them. What other modules have been released on Canvas? Do we know?
I'm not sure. The students have had communication about that through email, so they'll need to go through their email, look at the junk folder, make sure it didn't go into the spam folder or something like that. If they're not getting information on that, or perhaps they're not checking their email, this is a really important thing for all of the students to get used to doing. I know they don't like email anymore, but that's something that they're just going to need to check. As long as they're a DU student, they're going to have to keep up with their email. I've heard some people say at least once a week, but I think probably more often than that, they might need to get in there and check every couple of days at least. And as far as the Discover DU modules, this Canvas course that we're talking about, I'm going to get some information about that and who to get in touch with. So if your student doesn't have any email about it, or if they haven't heard of it before and they're not getting the notices, I'll have some information for you so they can follow up with that orientation office and get the info they need.
Okay. If a student is foreign language exempt, how does he find the courses that can be substituted?
If there is an approved accommodation for foreign language substitution, then that would be, the student would get that through their accommodation specialist through Disability Services Program.
We're concerned about our student being able to get their books if they don't get their classes until Thursday and classes start the following Monday. Suggestions for where to get books in a reasonable time and cost. So as far as books, the primary place that most students get their books for fall quarter is through a bookstore. The bookstore, you can either buy books new, used, or you can rent them. And it's way cheaper to rent books. Students have also gone through Amazon. If you have Prime or your student does Student Prime, they get 2-day shipping on everything. You can also rent through Amazon. I've also heard of students using Chegg, which is a book rental service. There's a variety of services out there, but the primary place students tend to go to for their fall quarter, because it's such a short time period, is the bookstore.
And they're very careful at the bookstore also about helping your students look up the exact issue of the book, what version of the book is needed for that particular class. It's all listed out as they go through the bookstore and look at the different books available. It'll say for this specific course, this is the book you need, these are required, these are optional. And your students should always look at their syllabus for each course and make sure that they're getting exactly what the professor is asking for. Sometimes there is, what's the second edition, and the student sometimes gets first edition or something like that, and they end up missing some things in the course. But if you just, ask them to take a look at the syllabus, and they can shop online. Sometimes you can get a digital copy. And they can have it on a reader with them until they get the physical book, if they prefer reading a physical book. So that's also an option.
Is it possible to talk to a major advisor before coming to campus to address specific individual questions?
Yes. And it's applications on engineering.
Yeah.
Yes. So if Yes, the only thing that I will say is that some faculty may or may not be back from, summer vacations or whatever, if they're not supposed to be back on campus until, let's say, September 1st. But for engineering, there is, I don't want to put his name out there, but Matthew Gordon is the contact. And you can go to the engineering website, but faculty member Matthew Gordon is an amazing resource for students for engineering. They have, other faculty members, but if there was a point of contact, I know that he is available over the summer to meet with students, and he's pretty much readily available, and we have a great partnership with him. So if there are specific questions about that engineering with the 17 credits and kind of working that out to ease some of the anxiety, then I would definitely say reach out to him now. And you can say, Tanette sent you.
Okay, so we have someone, do we want to answer this question? Okay, so this question relates to the last session. There is an option of deposit in the DU Pay. Credit card can be used there. What for the deposit can be used, like paying tuition fee?
I'm not understanding the question very well.
So this question about DU Pay and so forth is better sent to the bursar. They can answer any questions about DU Pay, what deposit might mean, and what that can be used for. So we're not 100% sure what you mean by that, but we highly recommend asking the bursar because they're going to be better equipped to answer that question.
Student financial services.
It's bursar@du.edu, and we're going to put that email address there in the chat menu for you.
What is the estimated cost of books for the first quarter? Cost of books really totally depends on a variety of things. It depends on how many classes you're taking. It depends on if it's the newest edition. It depends on if you're renting or buying used. We can't give you any specific estimated costs. I've heard of students going anywhere from $200 to a higher end of $600. So it just really, truly depends on the classes that your students take and what the professor is requiring and the number of books they require. So, and also what method you're using to get the books. So it's difficult to truly give you a good ballpark. Is there a deadline for foreign language and math exemption exams?
So the foreign language, I do believe they wanted to have that done earlier, probably like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. For some of the languages, no, but there's a whole website on the foreign language the foreign language exams, and so it looks different if a student is Spanish or French or Italian than if they're doing Arabic and, or something different. So we can get that link for you. I don't think so if a student hasn't taken the Spanish placement test, or Spanish placement, then they can take it now. But if it's something else, they may not be able to. Some of the tests are offered during Discovery's orientation. The math, there's no math exemption exam. There is a math placement exam. I don't know why I keep saying exam. I guess I'm looking at exam. They're not exams. They're just placements to help the math, to help students figure out, like, oh, am I ready? Am I ready for calculus? Is the test, the math placement for those students that are engineering, perhaps business, because they're taking calculus for business, seeing if they're actually ready to move into that, or if they need to take a course before that. So that's the math one, and then for languages. So I have to give you the link to kind of look at what the student is planning to take, if it's Italian or something else.
Who is that engineer advisor?
Oh, Matthew Gordon.
The two T's.
Yes.
That look right?
Yes.
Okay. I just typed in the engineering advisor for you. We didn't quite understand my question. Our student is language exempt as determined by disability services already. He has to take substitute classes. How does he find them?
Oh, there's actually, oh, I forgot we changed it. Oh, something's changed. So there is a list that he can get from an accommodation specialist, but also in the registration system where students look up classes, there is an option that says attribute, ATTRIBUT, attribute. And on it, it'll say like AI Society, SI Society, honors courses, and it'll also say FOLA substitution for foreign language. So when we say foreign language, we say FOLA, F-O-L-A. So you'll see that, and then if you click on the FOLA substitution and do a search for classes, it'll only pull up the classes that count for that substitution. So if a student if that's too complicated, they can learn to do that in future quarters. But for right now, if they're going through disability services program, then the accommodation specialist can send them a list of all the classes that are offered for fall quarter that meet that foreign language substitution.
Okay. Do you have a point of contact for biology or environmental?
Yeah, there actually is we actually have what do you call it? A major advising sheet. We can put that on there.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll get that for you, the major advising list.
So we'll follow up with that list for you. Okay. So we have about 3 more minutes, so we'll get through this last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions, and then our session will be over for today. Are faculty advisors available for walk-in advising, or is an appointment necessary? If so, what is the usual lead time needed?
I'd say as of right now, so faculty are gone for the summer, and most of them don't return until early September in preparation for discoveries, and then for classes that start through the fall. So they're not, I guess you could say, required to be here right now. But during the regular quarters, it depends on department by department. So if like psychology, they have an actual system where students can go in and schedule a meeting with their faculty advisor because they have a large number of students, whereas maybe a different department, a smaller department, I'm trying to think of somebody, but it would be better for a student to email the faculty member and then they'll schedule a meeting with them. So it just depends on the different departments. If it's business, they have a whole a link for students to schedule their appointments. But I would say for any appointment, you probably want to give a week notice. And then for walk-in, some faculty, they have drop-in hours where students can meet with them, and some don't, and they're like by appointment only. So I think it just depends on the different majors. They all do it differently. But yeah, that's a big part of when they go to the major advising sessions during orientation. That's where they get that information. So all the faculty are available for basically a 2 to 3 hour period just for questions or just to notify students of their process of how to contact them. What are the expectations around that? And so they can get all that information at that time. So yeah, I'm like thinking, and I'm like, oh, it's like everybody does this. So biology, biochemistry, philosophy, all the majors. And so they have these, even if they only have like 2 majors, they're available in a room for students that may be thinking about majoring in that area during orientation. And so at that time they can, see them in person and know that there's an actual human being that is their faculty major advisor, and then how to reach them, and if they need additional assistance. So yeah.
Okay, so this individual wants their son to come home for the summer, not in Colorado.
Mhm.
He may take some summer school classes or two. How does he transfer the credits, and how does he make sure the credits will transfer?
Yeah, so the registrar's office has a transfer equivalency. So so I know it's outside of Colorado, but there are some students that may live in Chicago and they've taken classes back home when they went for the summer, and they've already been pre-approved to transfer. So students first go to this website through Pioneer Web, and they can look, and then if the class hasn't been pre-approved, then there's a way for them to request that it's approved. And then we also have a transfer, I think the title is a transfer evaluator, transfer coordinator, but there's an actual person that's all they do is evaluate transfer credits and transcripts. And so a student could, and it's just registrar@du.edu, and it'll get sent to that person. But yeah, so a student just would contact that person. If it's all too confusing and they just want like a direct answer, then they would go to that person and they can say, yes, this class will come back as this when you transfer. And I actually like the idea of having it in writing. But yeah, and then that's pretty much it. But there's a human being that they have a job to evaluate transfer credits and to give pre-approvals to make sure that a student feels or understands that, oh, this class, if I take it, back home in Chicago, then it's going to transfer back to DU as this class, and hopefully that's what they want. It's a transfer pass.
Okay, so will the links and email addresses be provided in the chat be available after the session? Yes. Any emails or links that we have provided throughout this session within the chat box are available to contact. All the offices we have mentioned, past summer hours, are here and available for you and your students if you have any further questions.
And I'm going to provide the text from the chat menu in a document on the Facebook group, and also email it out to you, as well as send you the link to this recording so you can view it later on.
If a student scored high on a foreign language and it says to see advisor, will this be during orientation?
Yes, there is a time during that major advising day, that Wednesday of Welcome Week, where students can meet with the foreign language advisors.
Do students take math placement before they get to campus?
Yes, that would be helpful that they take that math placement. And yeah, yes.
Does the registration system refer to Pioneer Web or Canvas? Registration, when we say registration, we're referring to Pioneer Web. You access registration through Pioneer Web. Canvas is a whole nother system that students will use for classes, not registration. Must honor students take writing in the fall?
No.
This is the first I have heard of students requiring a foreign language. Can you point me to where the foreign language requirements are on the website?
Yes, we're going to provide a link.
Yeah, we'll follow up. We'll follow up with that in an email so that you have that link. And last question. How does the language requirement work? She is seeing, for example, an opportunity to take one course that knocks out all required credit hours if she does not need the elementary option.
Yes, so this is, anyway, language is like language proficiency plus. So students in the placement, well, I'm just going to use Spanish because it's pretty popular. But there's a 1-year requirement that all students at DU have. Well, it's actually not a 1-year requirement. It's proficiency plus. So so a student could place into beginning Spanish 1, beginning Spanish 2, beginning Spanish 3, or something higher. If a student places into a class that's higher than the beginning, Spanish 1, 2, or 3, they have to take a higher level, Spanish course to meet the requirement. So students are not exempt from the language requirement. They have to take a class to meet the language requirement. So even if they've shown proficiency in that, they've taken, they've placed out of Spanish 1, 2, and 3, they still have to take intermediate Spanish 1 or intermediate Spanish 2 or 3, or even higher if they place higher than that. So there's no way to not take a course for languages. Even students that have language course substitutions through their disability services accommodations still have to take a course to meet the requirement. So hopefully that's helpful. I'm like, but yeah. So then your student, if they place out of that elementary, you know, what she's saying, the elementary classes, then she'll just take one course and it's done. So either they're taking one course or 3 courses or 2 courses. So yeah.
All right. Yep. Okay. Yeah. This person says that she placed out of Spanish 1.
Yeah. So the 1 year anyway. So if it was, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, if you have more questions, feel free to contact Academic Advising, the registrar. We have a variety of resources for you to get in touch with if you have further specific questions.
All right. I think that ends our session for tonight then. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks to Ned for joining us. And we'll be in touch again, and we'll send you the link to the recording of this so you can review it again. I know I'm going to. So have a good night, everybody. We appreciate you joining us on these webinars, and we'll see you next Wednesday.